With the addition of the interactive browser to the experience of test authoring, we have actually upgraded custom flow creation to be the world's most advanced no-code test authoring experience. It allows us to accelerate test authoring by allowing us to record the UI interactions in plain English. This is a full-blown IDE that allows you to do everything that a developer can do with this code, which makes it super easy to debug issues in real time and fix them very quickly. A very important advantage of this approach is that it allows you to easily overcome situations when the recorder makes a mistake. With most record and playback tools that are out there, if the recorder makes a mistake, and it's unavoidable because developers can be very creative in the way that they build their application, at some point the recorder will get confused. When that happens, usually as a user, you are stuck. Unless you have developer skills and the tool allows you to write some code to overcome the problem, if you're just trying to record an interaction and the recorder doesn't pick it up correctly, you're just stuck, and you're stuck with reporting a ticket to the vendor to help you out. With this approach of combining writing steps in plain English and recording, you can easily remediate situations like that yourself, because you can see exactly in plain English what the recorder recorded, and you can actually edit it in plain English and describe in the correct and better way what is the element that you are trying to interact with and how you're trying to interact with it. So you have all the skills needed at your disposal to correct mistakes like that, and they do happen, of course, as many of you know. One thing that is very important about this feature is that the interactive browser that you're getting is actually a screen share into a real headful browser that is running on our execution cloud. Just like I'm sharing my screen with you right now, we are sharing the screen of the real browser that is running on our infrastructure. There are two important advantages here. First of all, you don't need to install anything. You don't need to download an application to run locally. You don't need to install an extension. You don't need to ask permission from anyone, from the security team, to install something. And you don't need to worry about getting this thing upgraded when there are updates or bug fixes. It's just there and it is working for you, embedded in your browser window. The second advantage is that the environment in which you author the test is completely identical to the environment that will run your test offline. And this solves a huge headache for many users, because in many cases, when you're using record playback tools, you download something that you run locally. So you end up running things behind the firewall that end up executing offline outside the firewall. Maybe your local environment, your browser, for example, is already has a certain state with respect to the application under test. Maybe you're already logged in. Maybe you've made some choices that affects your experience. So when you are recording the test locally, it works. When you're running it locally, it works. But when you're trying to run it offline on the test infrastructure, it doesn't work because it starts from scratch and it's not at the same state as your local deployment. In this case, all these problems go away. You're always authoring and editing your test in the exact same infrastructure, exactly the same browsers that execute your tests offline. So let's see this in action. So there are many ways to start to author a custom flow. One of the easiest ones is just to head to one of the existing screens and ask to create a test that starts from that exact position. Once I do that, I have a test that is already has the first step of navigating to that screen, and I can just start typing my test steps in plain English. But what I want to really do is connect our interactive browser and start working with it interactively. So we're spinning up that browser now. It takes a few seconds. The browser will spin up. We have a screen share to it, and it will already execute our first step of navigating to that screen. Now I can just interact with it and record a test. Automatically, the browser is recording steps, so I can scroll down and click the Contact Us link. Let me zoom in a bit to make the screen bigger. I can type in my name. I can type my email address, and I can choose a contact reason click the submit button, and add a visual checkpoint to check the entire page. So as you can see on the left-hand side, all the actions that are did are now listed as plain English instructions. I could have written them, but much faster, within less than a minute, I could just record them and author them, and they appear here in plain English. The fact that it's in plain English is super important. First of all, the test is highly readable and maintainable. Everyone on the team that understands quality can understand this test and maintain it. Another important part is that there are no element locators here, so it's very clear what the test is doing, but also this test is completely independent of how the page is built, which means that it is much more robust. Even if a developer will go in now and replace the way that a certain button is implemented or how the contact test link is implemented, as long as there is a contact test link, the AI will click it and it doesn't care how it's implemented, which is not the case with the element locators, as many of you know. Now, you can still have the ability to run JavaScript here on a step. You have the ability to use an element locator, just say click the element with the CSS locator, blah, blah, blah. And if you do that, we do have self-healing on our test infrastructure, on our execution cloud, and it will help that element from not breaking when your UI changes. But out of the box, the way that we want you to use the product is to just use plain English. Now, it's not just about recording. I can easily replay the test to make sure that it works. And if it works here, it will work when it executes offline because it's the same exact browser and the same exact environment that is running it. Okay, so I can be 100% confident that it will run correctly when I schedule it to run offline.